to this community, installed a board which will give that building basically broadband capability once it's up and running. The process there is that they will have a multitude of carriers on that, because it's an optic line, that we as a community can bid on as to who we want to have come in and who we want to have in that building. There was additional 2 buildings, Jeff?
In town?
In town?
Several, actually. I got about 6. There's the fire department in Baldwinville, the fire department in Templeton Center School, the police station, library.
High school.
The high school is already on their own ed. So the high school's already taken care of. I think that's the list.
Yeah.
There's 6 in total, counting that building.
Let me say this, they were a very professional setup, because I had worked for a cable company years ago. This company came in and they did a top-rate job. One of the things I had as concern is that during this particular time, we had one of our citizens who is well aware of who I am come by, and I was going to end up giving that person an update, but they didn't take the opportunity. I ended up actually rolling down my window. I mean, the person lives on my street. I don't understand that from a person in the community. I would end up inviting anybody to take and come in, if we're at that building, to come in to look at that building, so you understand what the asset is that we're going to be turning into a town hall. I mean, we voted on that the last time. But the thing that I went back, and the reason I even mentioned that is that the person came back an additional 2 or 3 times and was asking questions of the people that were doing the install. I found that kind of, why not just ask somebody from your own community as to what's going on? And like I said, we're open to give anybody an update. As you heard me say before, transparency is the name of the game here. We want to make sure everybody is aware what it is, so that when they come to town meeting and have the opportunity to vote on that, they know exactly what they're voting on. There's no hidden this or that. Here it is. This is what we're doing. This is what's happening in that building. Yes?
I was, through you.
Go ahead.
I was made aware today that the building inspector is not, wait a minute.
Sorry, I'm not trying to
The building inspector has a different idea about the capability of this building becoming a town building for all town offices.
We had some discussion with him last week. Last Thursday, concerning that. He's willing to come in and end up giving us some feedback. One of the things that we had talked at one of the earlier meetings, and you were going to end up looking into that, is to get the building department over to look at that building. Well, we did talk to him. He and I are going to end up setting some time to actually go over there and look at that building. I mean, he's already put a letter out as far as change of use for that building.
Yes, he already has, and I have a copy of that letter.
Yes. That's part of the overall package that I have.
Is this the old letter?
Yeah, that's what.
This is the letter, change of use, East Templeton Elementary School.
Right.
I've done a building code review concerning the proposed move of town offices from 690 Patriots to East Templeton School. Currently, the Mass Building Code, in its 8th edition, using 2009 International Building Code, accompanied by Massachusetts amendments in the 2009 International Existing Building Code. A change in occupancy is defined as a change in the purpose or level of activity within a building that involved a change in the application of the requirements of this code. In order to determine the extent of compliance requirements, it must first be determined if the new use being proposed is less hazardous based on life and fire risk than the existing use. After review, the proposed use, town offices, is categorized as a less hazardous use than a public school. Therefore, the level of work shall require, and this was for a temporary occupancy, so
Right.
it's not the same, and it was just
Right.
for the first
And I
floor.
think that's his
That
concern.
was my concern, that
Yeah.
that was only a
We
temporary.
have talked to him, I
But the
mean,
use of the building is still less hazardous,
Yeah.
because it's town offices.
I have no problem with the hazardous.
One of the-
but
one of the biggest
he's
things
willing
he
to give
ended
it
up-
to us for, as a permanent.
Wait a minute. Go ahead.
one of the biggest things that he had concern of that day was the fire alarm, and I was really surprised that he wasn't aware that there was a fire alarm in that building.
It's a school.
Is there a fire suppression system?
No. No, it depends on the size of the building, and there's still some discussion on whether or not that's going to be required.
Pete?
Where are you getting your information from?
Mr. Ritter?
Who are you talking
Talking
Are you
to
talking to
Virginia?
me?
That's what where are you getting your information?
We got it from Larry.
He don't want to be over there, that's all. You keep track of him. You quote me on that one.
Well, we still have to have his blessing here,
Well, you
so.
don't have to have his blessing, we get a new one, new building inspector.
Yeah, that's your answer to everything.
Pretty
Anything
quick.
else?
Well, besides that, another thing before we get into my little spiel before our presentation is that yours truly went to the Narragansett School Committee Budget Subcommittee, and I was a little bit surprised. And I guess this is your slap on the hand as a board, because there was no board member, and I found that kind of,
Virginia was supposed to be the one this year.
well,
No.
Yes, 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 yes.
It's not on my list.
If a board member cannot attend, I really recommend that you have a backup. I mean, when I end up sitting across from no less than 4 people from Phillipston on
I
that
know,
board.
I was there last year, I was the only one from
Listen, I
Templeton
just did
last
the
year.
same thing with the Regional Agreement Committee, and there was 4 from Phillipston and
Yeah.
1 from Templeton.
Yeah.
And I was appalled, because we're allowed to have 2 more, 1 from the Finance Board and more from the Board of Selectmen. And I was the only one there. so-
And they brought that up also, and I says, if I was made aware of that, as far as advisory board, we would have had somebody at that.
My
regional meeting.
my apologies. I am on that committee, and I didn't.
But they
I have
never
19 of them
contacted
on this
me, I've
list.
been on it the last 2 years,
Yeah.
and they never even contacted me.
The
about
next,
the
the
meeting.
next meeting is this Thursday
I'll be there.
at the Kiva Room at 6:30. You'll see it on the agenda for the advisory board,
that the Kiva?
which was already posted. Pardon me?
Is that the Kiva?
It's in the Kiva.
Last year we held them in the super's office.
Well, it was, the first meeting was held in their office area, and now they're gonna end up holding it in the Kiva, because I guess they have some students that are interested in what,
Oh, okay.
and actually filming the process and putting it on Channel 8.
I have something under new business.
Okay, we're still on old business.
Oh, actually, it's old business.
How long is this gonna take?
Depends on you, on how many questions.
All right.
I've given you a big packet of information. Hopefully you've looked at all that, because if you ask questions, I'm gonna refer you back to that packet and I'll answer them.
Okay.
And-
In that case, before we do yours or yours,
Yep.
I would like to do one thing, because there's people that came in for this, and I want to get it out of the way, so they don't have to.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
We're flexible.
At the last recreation meeting, I believe this was handed to you guys? Okay. If you remember when the Michael's Lane residents came in a month or 2 ago, and we had this big discussion about Gilman Waite and the usage of Gilman Waite. In the meantime, the National Softball Association, which is the group that has been using our field for the tournaments, they recognize Gilman Waite as the outstanding park that they use for 2012. That is from all the parks that they use in the state. So, a lot of that goes to the Rec Commission and Allen for the work that they do. They gave them a nice plaque, which is here, and I think they deserve a round of applause for their efforts. I don't know if you want to keep this, or you wanted to leave it here until your building's ready to put it inside your building.
We leave it here for now, so residents can come in
People
and
can
see it.
Okay, but,
We'll put it in a prominent place, maybe on the hallway somewhere.
yeah.
Hey, I just want to correct something. Can anybody, it's not Gilman-Waite. Gilman Waite.
It was
one
his
guy.
name, I know.
That was his name. Can we correct that? Because didn't Alan tell me there's a sign up there that says it wrong and everything?
Yeah, and this says
Okay,
it's wrong
one guy
too.
who donated
It's
all
one
that
person.
land to the town.
Yes, I knew that.
So why we put a Mr. in front of it?
Huh?
So, but good job.
Mr.
And I
Gilman
think this says a
Dashway.
lot about the work that you've
Mr.
done up
Waite.
there.
His first name was
That
Gilman.
of all the fields that they use, they recognized the Gilman Waite Field as their outstanding park for the season.
I would just like to say that's a national award. That,
Oh, national?
yeah, their national representative came up from Michigan and gave that award to
That's
Templeton.
awesome.
So
That's even better.
everything east of the Mississippi River.
Oh, nice.
So that's pretty nice.
Excuse me, that should make all those people on Michael's Lanes, all their properties worth more.
That's right.
Right? So they can't.
And it should make the paper
Well, you're
too.
the assessor. You
There
know
you go.
that.
There you go.
Sue, put a call.
Sign in next 10. Sign in next 10. You got
Okay,
that.
so thank you for coming.
National recognized ball
I know it's
field.
not a very nice night out there.
All right. Congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, Julie, old business?
You lucked out because you
Yeah.
don't have to listen to all this.
My old business is the policies and procedures that we approved.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was ever posted on the webpage, and going back, I'm not sure exactly which version we approved. So I'll go through it
Plus
and,
edits, yeah.
yeah,
A bunch of
the edits, right, I know you didn't. So I just wanted to let people know that it'll be posted as soon as we straighten this out. Okay, may take a week or two. All right, so I'll give it to you once I
Yep.
figure out what copy we do.
Yep.
That it?
That's it.
All right, go.
That's my old business.
Okay, let me just bring you up to.
Quiet, please. I need to hear Mr. Spring.
Let me just bring you up to where we are, why we're making the presentation. Back in July 18th, the advisory board had a request for transfer of funds for paying the ComCon agent for unused sick leave. And during that particular time, there was a number of things that came up. We ended up asking the agent to provide us some information. And that's, we also gleaned the fact that we have an unfunded liability, which we recommended to the select board at a later meeting to end up looking at establish a fund for unfunded liabilities. And this was a smaller one. We have unfunded liabilities as far as if somebody ends up retiring versus a sick time when they're terminated.
Which we have established that account.
Back in, after we got some information, back in August 10th, we sent a letter to the board, which you have a copy of, stating we were requesting the board to end up doing whatever investigation that they could. We also waited for the CONCOM agent to take and supply us with some information. The selectman's office went through that. There was some questions, there was some holes as far as the documentation didn't have, and nothing happened for a couple of months. So later on in like October, because we had gotten the information from the chairman of the Conservation Commission, we looked at that and did a review, and we found much more than the unfunded liability as far as sick time, and that just rung some bells as far as we were concerned as to we wanted to review those. We did review those. We have a number of issues which we'll be presenting this evening. And all this is part of the documentation that you have. I know it's a thick package, just for folks that are in the audience. We gave them that much documentation to take it up, backing up what we're talking about. So with that, because of the holidays and all, we weren't looking to take and get this before the end of the year. That didn't happen. So we're back this evening to give you an overview and some recommendations as to our findings. And if you have any, as we go through this, if you have questions, I'll refer you to some of that. We'll answer some of that. But all the information that we have is in the package, per se. I'm going to have to ask you, at least a couple of the selectmen to end up moving their chairs to the side, or come join the audience.
Come in, we'll let you sit in your cheap seats.
No, it's, I think I'm on my lap.
Sit on your lap. Okay.
Yeah.
How far? Yeah. Yeah, let me scooch in.
It's too close.
I'm gonna move.
You can come sit over here, Virginia. Get a good seat.
Got a box over there. Paper box.
Just trying to see if I can, yeah, that could use the deal. No, I didn't.
Don't trip on the wire.
I think your computer was sitting on the switch, maybe.
Yeah. She's watching.
All right, I'm not doing little.
Because the chairman says he needs a visual, I'll actually give you a paper copy so you can follow
I don't
along.
want to, I don't have all this already.
For the records.
You ready?
Yes, we're ready. I'll let you go through the east portion of it.
You can read.
Okay. At the May 2012 annual town meeting, conservation position was eliminated due to budget constraints. After the farmer agent submitted his final paperwork, several compensation-related questions arose. The advisory board investigated these matters ranging from accrual of sick and personal days to the varied ranges of compensation, and it brought the results of this investigation to the Board of Selectmen in order to avoid future discrepancies. We're not looking to take it and end up pointing fingers, basically. We want to take and correct what happened.
Just keep rolling.
Okay. Overall lack of accountability by chairman of the Conservation Commission, including the failure to monitor weekly payroll. There's a chronic lack of oversight by the Board of Selectmen when signing weekly payroll warrants. And this is not, I'm not talking about this present board, that's even past boards when we look back at some of these records. I want to make that very, very clear. This is just a chronic issue that we're trying to resolve. There's a lack of control over the, yes?
We've pretty much resolved that with these new timesheets, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
Not.
Oh, yeah.
When we go through, we'll end up getting through. There's a lack of control over the determination of hourly wages, grade, step, and salary increases. Okay, summary of our findings. Salary accounts have been repeatedly overspent. In FY9, conservation agent salary was overspent by $15.80. Doesn't sound like much, but if you do that for every department, it starts to add up. And the small bleeding adds up to big bleeding. In 2012, conservation agent's account was overspent by $20. Chronic issue. In 2012, the conservation clerk's salary account was overspent by $3.80. Salary accounts containing money at the end of the fiscal year have been depleted, even if hours had not been worked. What does that mean? That means that if somebody was putting in their hourly cards in the past, they were actually ending up putting for the extra money. If they had figured out that there was an extra $20 in, or 25 cents, or whatever, that they would actually put in for that amount. The total amount of overpayment from FY8 to FY12 on the conservation Concom agent salary was $22,801.28. Now somebody wants to ask me about how we figured that. We figured that, and you'll see in the next couple of slides, as to how the actual salary changed dramatically. The Town of Templeton Personnel Policy Violations. Section 10F. Personal days are not to be used at vacation and may not be combined with vacation leave or holidays. This was violated in FY10 and 11. That's just one department we're talking about. Section 5, the Personnel Board, with the assistance of Town Coordinator and the Personnel Administrator, shall classify all compensation positions in the employee of town. Section 4, it shall be the responsibility of the Board of Selectmen to administer this policy. Records show that only one sick day was taken between 8 and 12. By the way, there was a miscalculation, and it was minor. When we ended up paying that agent, we paid him $220. Doing the actual calculations, he should have got $216. And the reason he got the 20 is that when the overall thing was calculated, the day he took off sick was not taken off. It was could have been a mistake, don't know, don't care. This is a table of charts as to the compensation for the agent. You'll see the year on the left. In the next column is the dollars amount he received, and at the top is how many weeks he received that salary. So in FY8, when he came on board, he was receiving $15.85 an hour. During FY9, for the next 23 weeks, it was almost, and by the way, this is a 47.5% increase in pay from one year to the next. Unheard of, even in private industry. In FY10, he continued to get that $23.32, and I'm not sure why, but the salary went down to $19.97. Still above what he should have been being paid. In FY11, well, FY11, that continued on, and then for, let's see, that was for 8 weeks, then 12 weeks, and then 30, it jumped back up to $23.32 for 33 weeks during that. There's a graph that'll actually show this. In FY12, the salary was $20.47. There's a graph of what I just talked about in how many weeks. When the advisory board looked at this, and we've had some people that have had experience in management or whatever, we could not believe that this took place, number one. So that's where we came up. And I'll get into how the actual came up with the $22,000 plus. If you take the normal compensation that all the rest of your employees got, step raises, plus their 3.5% and 2.5% increases during this particular period of time, that's how we came up, and he should have been paid incrementally above the $15.50-something cents. So when you added all that up over the period of time, plus what he got, we paid him quite well to do the job.
I think, can I make a comment real quick? Because I remember this coming up at a town meeting, and it might have even been before I was on the board. And that's why you saw that it went down. I don't understand why it went down and then back up in FY11, because that was kind of weird. But we knew he was being overpaid, the town knew he was being overpaid, and that's why at town meeting we voted to reduce where he was, because we never approved it. The Concom committee approved it.
What just shows that we have a lack of control over where we end up. It really should not have gone to town meeting.
But it
should have actually been within, somebody actually said it within the personnel policy. Go ahead. Okay, recommendations. The advisory board encourages the Board of Selectmen to take the following steps. Stop in the year salary account deficit spending. Stop in the year spending of excess money in salary accounts. We can't afford to have that continue to happen. Doesn't make any difference if it's this department or some other department. It's just in general. Small bleeding is not going to help, especially when we have problems in general here with our finances. The advisory board encourages the Board of Selectmen to officially delegate all payroll issues to the town coordinator. There's no need to increase his salary. Board of Selectmen have already designated him as the personnel administrator. We should enforce that. This way the Board of Selectmen only have one person to monitor. They don't have to end up signing each of the payroll sheets every week. He does that, you only have his payroll sheet to end up worrying about.
I think that's a good thing to do, but go ahead.
The town coordinator's job descriptions allow for any related work as required by the Board of Selectmen. The town coordinator should review all hires and placement on the pay schedule. And by the way, when I say the job description, it was brought up at one of our meetings is that he's got a contract. Well, in the back of your packet.
I know you put the contract.
Yeah, the contract is in there, and it says that you will follow the job description, and that's the two go hand in hand. And I highlighted the section where I'm saying is that work related as required. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And that's our presentation for where we think the board should be. We'd like to see the board actually vote that tonight, based upon our recommendation, because that would end up stopping a number of issues. One of the things that I did run into, and this was just in this last 2 weeks, is that we almost did not end up paying our employees, and I find that very upsetting from an advisory board position. We didn't have the necessary signatures for the paychecks to go out. I just happened to be in, and it was like, well, we can't give the paychecks out because the warrant hasn't been paid.
Thank you.
That would stop that issue also if you had just one individual doing that. So that's why we're recommending that responsibility be given to the...
That the payroll issue would not be true because we still have to sign the warrant before it can be released. Even if Jeff is overseeing the actual time cards, we still have to sign the warrant.
Well, I just found that kind of upsetting that we had to end up holding paychecks. It's very important to our employees.
That's probably the week I was out with my
job. Yeah, I mean, I know that there's sometimes issues, but we really need is the board to make sure.
We have an unusual circumstance right now because Jeff is away. And so if one of us is not available, then we have a problem. So, but we've not made anyone go without a paycheck to this date that I know of.
And a lot of weeks because, you know, for one reason, he can't sign it for everybody, Julie can't sign it for everybody, and sometimes I can't sign it for everybody. We all four need to be able to sign it to get the 3 signatures.
You understand what we are talking about, some of the issues as far as payroll, and that's why we're recommending that responsibility give over to him. That way there, it lessens the burden on the board to end up coming in and signing all those.
Julie.
I agree in theory. Practice is a different thing. I think what we need to do as a board is the personnel board it can't function. The policy doesn't work well. I think what we need to do as a board is to create a bylaw and change it from town coordinator to town administrator and clearly outline the duties and responsibilities. Whether we do it, bring it up through the personnel board and get it on the annual town meeting, but it's a bylaw, it has to be at the annual town meeting. I think that is the direction we need to take, and we need to go and look at and figure out what power and authority we're going to invest in right now, town coordinator. I personally feel it should be a town administrator, and we can do that with the bylaw.
We're the
right
only
now,
communities
what we have, excuse me.
in Massachusetts that has...
She's talking.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. Right now, we don't even have a bylaw for town coordinator. It was just voted in 1998, June 23rd, 1998, 48 yes, 46 no votes to create the position by adopting the Mass General Law. We have more detail about dogs in our bylaws than we do about what the dog coordinator should be doing. And that needs to be changed, okay? And I think it's up to this board to take the lead on that and to work with Jeff and figure out what we want to do. We're going to be giving up some of our authority and our duties as selectmen, but it's in order to make the town run more smoothly and efficiently, so we don't have these issues reoccurring that make no sense, like with the conservation agent rate of pay.
Virginia?
I agree that we need to turn this position into a town administrator form of government. However, I don't think we should go so fast with this, just try to squeeze it into the town meeting so we don't do it appropriately. I just want to make sure that, I mean, there's a list a mile long of duties and responsibilities that we could give him, but do we want to? And we're going to need meetings to discuss those things. And
well, I think if we get started now, we can get it done. We just made a closing date for the Board of Selectmen was April 8th to get our requests in for town meeting articles. And I think we can do this. We've had a government study committee in,
tried to get it back together, nobody wanted to come on it, so.
So it's hard to do that. I think this is a responsibility that the board needs to take and to do. I'm willing to come up with some templates, some samples from other towns and bring them forth, and we can cut and paste. It's not that hard.
Well, let me just throw this into the mix too, because most town administrators make way more than what Jeff is making now. So what are we going to do about that?
That's a contract issue, not a position issue.
If I could weigh in on that, we did some research on this.
Don't worry, I don't have a PowerPoint on that.
Thank you.
The salary range for administrators run, contrary to what you and I had talked about, as low as 55,000 and as high as over 100,000.
I talked to one the other day, it was $125,000, that's what he makes. I'm
Depends-
glad he works in a much
Depends on
bigger
the size
place.
of your community.
Exactly.
I mean,
But I don't think we should just throw a whole lot of new responsibilities at him and not consider renegotiating a new salary.
Well, we're going to be looking at a new three-year contract.
Right.
And at that point, salary will be negotiable.
right, we have an opportunity at this particular time between now and the July to address that. I mean, even
To budget for it.
Bev?
I think that it would be really good to have a town administrator, because there'd be some continuity, because the boards change all the time. But you need to have something stable there as a core. And I would imagine if Jeff has the ability to take care of the small little fires that come up during the week, that he doesn't have to go looking for someone to get approval. I think those things we can tell, we know, he's very knowledgeable about the law. He has common sense, otherwise he wouldn't be here. And I think it would make the town run smoothly, because the core would always be there, even though the people in the chairs behind the desk change. And I think that you can always make revisions, you can always make changes, but you have to start somewhere. And nothing could be worse than where we've been. We never want to go there again.
Go ahead.
The reason why I think we should do this by bylaw is because we would also, it's more flexible. We would have a chance to change it every year
That's
at
right.
the annual town meeting. I don't want to be looking at special legislation to do a town manager form of government. You need a charter, and charter committees take forever. And we can't keep going on like this. So I feel at this point, we can look at it and, come to some consensus, I hope. Because I don't think we can keep doing business the way it is.
I don't disagree. I think ultimately it has to happen. I just want to make sure that we don't just rush into it and pile a whole lot of new responsibilities on him and then find out that we don't have enough money to give him more money this year. So tell him, well, here's all your new responsibilities, but next year we'll try to give you some more money. I can't, I don't think that
If I
that's.
could weigh in on that again. We're going to be going through.
Sue, have your hand up first.
Did the DOR have a recommendation on that? I don't remember.
On the salary?
No, on the position.
Town
They did.
Yeah, they
administrative form.
recommended.
They recommended
DOR
a town
recommended
administrative
we
form.
did.
Yeah.
And
It's the right way for us to
And
go.
my comment is, well, why should Jeff be any different than the rest of us that got our hours cut and still have more responsibility? Well, for the club.
Oh, that came
I
right
mean, I
back
just
to
think
you.
the parties are moving forward. I mean, no, seriously, don't,
Yeah.
why argue them? And I just think that, I mean, come on, let's stop this. Let's move forward. We need this. The DOR recommended this back, what, 3 years ago?
I don't disagree. I know that we need it.
So why do we keep?
I was a proponent for it. I was the person on the government study committee who was trying to convince everyone else.
Peter?
So,
I wasn't finished.
Did you want to say
That's
something?
okay.
Will, go ahead.
Yes.
I interrupted Sue.
I think she's
We
done.
end up talking about negotiations. We're going to be going into negotiations with unions this year. And I'm sure.
We are, you're not.
Right. When I say we, I do that collectively as a town, okay? I hope I speak that way as far as the town. It's not me. I would have said me. But the town will end up going into negotiations with those unions. Chances are, because of our financial condition, there's no money to be gotten. I think the same will be probably in talking with whoever the administrator is becoming in this coming year, once a bylaw goes through. Hopefully it's just gentleman. He's doing a wonderful job for us. I'm sure that's part of the negotiations when you do a contract. And in the private sector, let me just go there. Like Sue said, you have cut people's hours, they have more responsibilities now to get their job done. That happens in the private sector. That happened to me multiple times. I ended up working in facilities and there was more work brought in, there was no more compensation at all, and it was expected that whatever, as a salaried individual, that I ended up completing those tasks within the week. I mean, that's nothing unusual in the private or public sector. That's the expectations. And that's all I'm going to end up saying about that.
Okay. Any other comments? Anything on the board?
I got a comment.
Yes, Peter.
Is this new business or old?
What is Jeff's salary now, or his pay?
65, 3, something, 313, 326, 65,300.
Now, if you brought it to any other villages to see how much the other select boards get paid in the towns,
Select boards?
well, yeah, how much other select boards personnel get paid in towns? How much the town of Winston Selectmen get paid? How much the town of Orange Select Board get paid? How much the town of Athol select boards get paid?
Will knows the answer.
Let me address that.
Come on.
The advisory board presently has a subcommittee that is going to look at stipends within overall and to make recommendations as to future stipends for this community. We feel that in the past, it's been too high for the size community and the financials within this community. We've seen as low as $1 per person and as high as, for a size community our size, as high as the $5,000 to $6,000 range. So, I mean, I hope that addresses what you're talking about.
What does the town of Winston get? They get an administrator gets $100,000, but the selectmen only get $400.
They have a town manager.
They get $400. Select board,
Yeah.
No,
how much?
nothing.
Nothing. Thank you.
Most of the towns around us get nothing.
Oh, I can actually do it for nothing. I can. But if you got $27,000, what the board was getting previous, that was pretty good money. So why couldn't $10,000 extra of that go for him and still little stipends for the people on the board?
Because we're not getting that anymore.
Right now,
You
we're
ain't getting it now, you ain't getting it, but they did.
We did.
The board previous
They
to
did,
you was
but we
getting
don't have it,
27.
so how can we give it
He's
to
talking
him?
about if things improve.
Reverse, reverse, that's what I'm saying, Virginia.
I think what Will is trying to get at is that in Templeton, the stipends for different elected boards was all over the place. Selectmen got a whole lot of money, I think assessors got a lot, what did planning board get, 400?
Under 500.
Under
No,
500,
yeah.
it was all over the place, and it didn't matter how many times you met or what your job responsibility was, it was just like somebody picked a number out of a hat.
But that's what I'm
it
saying,
looked
I
like.
can't see you doing for nothing, but if he gets more responsibility, you had $27,000 you were playing around with you people, but the chairman got $7,000 almost. The past chairman was getting, if you looked at the town reports, and a lot of regular members are getting 5,200.
Well, I think
And
some
so
of the
what if you
past
gave him-
chairmen were also members of other boards that got money.
No, it just said this.
No,
Other boards.
there are members of other boards, their
Right.
combined pay
Pay
comes up
for
as
that
they
year.
need
I'm pretty sure everybody on this board was the same.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
But
the
some
chairman got
boards-
more.
Well, I was never chairman when we
You
got
weren't
paid, so.
chairman. No, I'm not chairman.
Right.
Sure, you wish you were, huh?
No, when I was chairman, I got a stipend for selectmen, I also got a stipend for light and water.
Right.
And you got a chairman who got more money than
No.
the board.
No.
I don't think so.
No, but it
was
would be-
equitable, everyone got the same.
It would be
as
your name
selectmen.
and total amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't do like 2 lines.
Now, I think other committees, commissions, the chairman did get more, and the members got a lower.
In the, in the finance
So,
board.
that's what I mean, it's very inconsistent what we used to do in Templeton, now everyone gets 0, so it's equitable.
But we're looking at that to make a recommendation.
Will you be able to make a recommendation by town meeting?
I'm not sure, I'm hoping that we could have it by July 1st, actually. I mean, we're looking at 20 other communities, and this is quite, you're looking at a lot of boards. And if it was only one board across 20, I'd say, piece of cake.
We're gonna look at so many, drill them down to the ones more our size and locally, the
What
local
we have,
area.
I mean, when I
If we have
say,
a town our size, but it could be near Boston, so that kind of throws it into a whole new bracket.
You can talk to him about that outside, man.
Okay.
I just want to get the business done. All right, so anything else from you?
yeah, I would just like to take and see the board at least have that responsibility given over to the coordinator. Starting now, I mean, that would alleviate at least some problems, because there's still some problems with even the timesheet. The timesheet has cut out a lot of issues. It hasn't eliminated everything. We still have independently other boards and departments setting their own salary grades and ranges when they bring in a new employee. That should not happen. I don't see this board has not done anything about those issues. That's why I'm saying, at least that responsibility for him picking that up.
If someone on the board wants to make a recommendation, I will take the motion, otherwise we will move on. And then maybe it'll come up in another meeting. But that's up to them. Because I cannot make motions. So. Anybody? No? Yes?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. So, new business, we already did the Gilman Waite, and Julie had a couple things from the MMA meeting.
I did, actually, I've got a handout, just some notes that I, were gonna hand out to you guys.
Good job.
I know. I started, but I thought,
I know,
maybe
I
next
just
week.
was like, you know, I have to do it right away or it never gets done, it gets buried in the pile. So we went to the MMA conference, Virginia, Jeff Ritter and I, and there were some things that I picked up. I've got a couple extras if you want them up here. And I'll probably put this on the blog later tonight. Since it's already written.
Yeah.
One of the things that I came away with, Comcast has a program for kids who are on free and reduced lunch, and it's so that they can have internet access, and it's $9.95 a month, but they have to be on that list. And I did send this information to the superintendent of schools, Ruth Miller, and she said they were a part of the program. So I'm just doing this now tonight so that we can try to get the word out to more people in case, we have a lot of incoming and outgoing kids, so we have a lot of turnover. So I just wanted to make sure that this got out to as many people as possible so that they could take advantage of it. Because access to information is an equity issue. And if you don't have the money, that can help. The other thing that I saw was a program that I had heard about probably 2 years ago at an open government meeting at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard. It's called See, Click, Fix. It's an online web application, and they have a free application that doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the one you pay for does. But what it does is if you see a problem, you're a citizen in town, you see a problem, you can go to the website, report it, and it goes to whatever agency would take care of it, and then they would know about it. So it gets like a ticket, and then you could track it to see if it was ever fixed or not. So it's like a reporting mechanism for down branches, trees, broken street lights, potholes. We don't want to talk about potholes in Templeton because that would just... But I thought it was an interesting option, and I think it's something that we might want to think about, but we really need tie-in from, buy-in from all the town departments. So I'm just putting this out there because I thought it was an interesting concept. Free is always good, but I'm not quite sure exactly what the ins and outs of the free is, so I think it needs a little more research. Open meeting law update. As always, that's usually an annual thing. There's always an open meeting law update. We need to make sure that all of our elected officials and appointed officials, anyone who is on a public body, keeps up with the changes in the open meeting law. And they've established more FAQs, frequently asked questions, and they just issued one on for tax abatement or exemptions, how to follow the open meeting law and maintain privacy of the people that you're talking about. So that's an important issue. I went to a session on division of local mandates, and I thought I got the short end of the stick because there were 3 of them. I'm like going, division of local mandates, unfunded mandates, great. This is going to be awesome because there's a whole lot we can do about that. Well, actually, it turned out to be much more productive than I thought. It's administered by the Division of Local Mandates, which is part of the State Auditor's Office. I didn't even know the Division of Local Mandates existed. Okay, so it was established in 1980. Okay, as part of Proposition 2.5, to make sure that state government didn't just throw the burden of a lot of their programs down to the city and town level. So there is a way to get some redress if you feel that happens. They had some success for dam safety. It is dam safety. Okay, there are a lot of dams in Massachusetts, and the cost of repairing those dams is very expensive. So the town of Ashburnham has a lot of lakes and a lot of dams, and they applied, to have a report done to see what the impact is in their community. And the result of that was that the legislature created a revolving fund with $17 million in it, which isn't enough to fix every dam in Massachusetts, but it's a start. It's kind of like the sewer relief fund. It's a revolving fund, so money will go in, money will go out. Low interest loans, so that communities have a chance, an opportunity to try to repair the dams that are, in failure in their communities. So I was sitting around thinking of some things that, we might want to maybe look at and apply, ask for a report from the Division of Local Mandates to see if we could get some redress. These are things that impact your town on a local level. Well, the biggest thing that's impacting our town on a local level is the closing of the Templeton Developmental Center and the financial repercussions that is going to have for our community. So I'm putting this out there. The other was the repair of Royalston Road. It's a horrible road. It's a county road. When they got rid of county government, the state in its infinite wisdom gave that road to the town of Templeton to maintain and repair. I'm thinking that's an unfunded mandate. okay? You know, in order for us to try to address the repairs on Royalston Road, it would take 10 years of Chapter 90 money to try to fix that road, at least, at a minimum. And then once we got that road up and running, I know they'd sell the TDC, and some developer would come in and have a nice brand-new road to drive over.
That's right.
So it's complicated. So I think there are a number of opportunities for the town. Maybe we could get together with other small towns and see if they have similar issues. One is the formula for funding regional school districts. I think Phillipston would be on board with that. You know, the funding mechanism, the calculation that's done for funding regional school districts is complicated and outdated at best, and it doesn't meet the needs of our communities. So that's basically my MMA update.
Didn't write,
Let me ask you a question. You're saying the Royalston, good poor shape, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do we intend to build a school up Elliott Hill? What would you use for a road?
We're not gonna build the school on Elliott Hill.
Trading the land.
We're giving, but,
Elliott Hill is a different piece of land than Crow Hill.
right,
Right.
we're not building the school on Elliott Hill.
we're giving the Division of Agriculture the piece, or trying to, up on Elliott Hill.
We would just be putting a conservation
So that-
restriction on the land.
Okay.
That abuts Elliott Hill.
Can we
It
get
would
them
still
to fix
remain
it up
town
the road? All
property.
right, thank you.
Yeah.
I
One
can
of-
understand.
Yes,
that.
Virginia.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about from there is that our website, even though, you know, we're a person that graciously does it for us all the time, we're getting way behind now. We need to change how we look at that whole thing. And at the conference, I talked to the guy from a thing called Virtual Town Hall, and it's very encouraging, and I think that Jeff is going to try to set something up so that we can have this guy come in and talk to us. It's a way so that we can all get our meetings on without, you know, going through a half a dozen people and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I'd be happy to have them come and present. Doesn't have to be at a board meeting, we just have
right.
some evening, have them come out and extend an invitation to the community, and you can come and fire questions about how it works.
The cost is somewhere around $2,500 a year, which is not a lot, and they store an infinite amount of
Minutes, agendas for all boards, committees, and committees.
What's happened right now is that we are out of space on our website, and so every time we want to put something new up, we have to take something else off. And so that's, you know, now we're picking and choosing what we leave and what we don't, so.
Just good stuff on.
Any other new business? Yes?
Yeah, just a couple of minutes. I'm a former farmer, and before you get a tomato, you gotta plant the seed. And the seed I like to plant is the Templeton Light Company. The town should sell it. It's out of control, it's a problem child. The employees get paid too much money over the regular town employees. That is a no-no. It has no benefit to me at all, that light company. That can be sold, and the town can realize $15 million. You can build your school. You can pay Mr. Ritter.
And everybody will pay more in electric bills too.
Shrewsbury, I just saw in the paper last week, over $1 million a year. The light company owned by the town, puts into the town. Light company here is useless.
Shrewsbury's also a much bigger community than here, so just, you know.
Still $1 million is a lot of money.
Yeah,
Shrewsbury's not that big.
they're a lot bigger than Templeton. They're more than 5,000 people.
Well, why do you need a light company? You don't need the light company. And when I had National Grid, I had no trouble. Why you gotta have your own light company?
Talk to the people
What do they do for us?
Talk to the people that had National Grid during Big Ice, compared to town of Templeton.
Well, we were without a power down the lake there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, some people on National Grid were a month
That's
or
not the
more.
reason.
So, you know, I think having your local light department is a big benefit.
I don't think so. I don't think
Well,
so.
that's true.
From what you get from that company, it's a problem child. That should be the first thing to go. This town does not need it.
Any other new business?
A couple more things. Actually, it kind of goes back to some of the other issues we were talking about tonight. Capital planning. I'm on capital planning as a board of selectmen member. I need to know who the advisory board member is. Okay. We also need to know who the school committee member is, a community member, and the town coordinator serves as an ex officio member. So we have to get that up and running.
Do we know
So-
who the other two are?
All right, because I would like to try to call a meeting, but I'd like to know who I should contact.
Okay.
That would be good.
Okay.
Unreasonable request.
Just ask.
And if the school committee doesn't have a member, they can get us one.
Right, so if they could vote one.
Do we have
so
a community
can appoint
member?
them.
I think we do.
Could also get a member of the finance board to come to the regional agreement committee meetings too. That would be very nice.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about that Wednesday.
Yes.
I think now that you brought up capital planning, one of my other key ones that I've talked about, the insurance board. Who is the Board of Selectmen's person? I'd like to see that.
Was it
As
you?
far as I know, I
think it was
yeah.
Virginia.
I'm supposed to be organizing it.
Then-
I think Virginia's the representative of the board.
I'm also the member for that.
Well, let's do it.
I've been ready for months.
All right.
All right, I'll just give a...
Julie had one more thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry.
Um,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Looking at what we have to do with the special town meeting and trying to figure out where we're gonna come up with $163,000, 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year. I was hoping that we might vote to direct the town coordinator to look at options for outsourcing or regionalizing departments, trying to make contact with other towns or commissions so that we can try to find ways to economize, because I think next year's gonna be just as tough as this year.
I'm going to be talking to Glen Eaton this week, as a matter of fact, about regionalizing the health, Board of Health agent. I mean, we are the only town in many towns around us to have a full-time agent.
I know. So it's economies like that, but I think we need to, right now, because of the way we're organized, we have a town coordinator, strong board of selectmen. I think the appropriate thing to do is for us to vote to direct the town coordinator so that he has the authority to make those contacts, to try to figure out so he can make some recommendations.
I would think he would have had that anyway, but yeah, I would.
So,
Well, and
Oh, go ahead.
as opposed to just making contact, to provide some guidance or direction about not which alternatives are viable, but where you would have me spend the time, which department or service I would be focusing on. Because to develop something as simple as a shared animal control officer agreement did take meetings, time, hours, and negotiation. So proceeding in that direction, there are certainly alternatives in health, in building inspection, veteran services, in, I guess those are the big ones, really.
I guess the building inspector would have been my next choice after that.
Yeah. So I think, well, do you want, how about if I'll make the motion that we direct the town coordinator to investigate alternatives to inspectional services, building inspector, health agent, and veterans services.
Well, I can give them everything. I've got a whole packet going on the health agent already. So.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second, sir.
Any discussion?
Aren't we already in,
Huh?
aren't we already in regionalized with veterans?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we
So
are.
we're gonna look at,
Maybe we'll look at
like
an
adding more
alternative.
towns? I'm sorry?
He's
Patrick
just
didn't
going to go
hear what he said.
investigate to see if there's an alternative.
I don't know, you can answer, I don't know, how come Gardner, they never went into regionalizing with a veterans agent? Years ago, they had Liam Janice was a veterans agent and stuff there, they did all that, but Gardner doesn't have a veteran, who's the veterans agent in Gardner? They're by themselves.
They have one.
They do.
They
They have one.
It's the town, yeah.
Because he's in town, he's in City
Well, how
Hall.
about Winchester now?
Don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, there's only,
Scott, can't think of his last name.
Are they all alone though?
All alone.
I believe he's all alone.
That's, yeah.
Used to
that's
be
what I'm saying.
Mr.
Grout.
That little
Charlie
guy.
Grout.
Charlie
Yeah.
Grout,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not-
And a lot of the guys from Templeton could go to Winchton, even though we were not allowed to.
Was not even in the.
He was a great guy for
Just did
that
it
kind
out
of
the-
stuff. If you needed something with the VA, he
Oh,
could do
yeah, I
it for you.
understand that, yeah.
All right,
It's-
so we have a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded.
Just look into it.
So just to look at it, not to make any commitments. Patrick?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Any other new business? Yes.
I have a question to the selectmen. We've been talking to Senator Brewer's office regarding 676 Baldenville Road, the proposal for McLean's Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been at all the planning board meetings. I finally was contacted today back by the Board of Health. In talking to Senator Brewer's office, he said he was still waiting for an answer from the selectman's office to see what their feel is on it, if they've looked at the plans, and
I came and asked twice to have. the board
Yeah, it came up at
make
our
an
last
opinion.
meeting, and I don't think we ever took a vote.
No, we did
No, we
not.
didn't.